Okay. So again, thank you all for being here, and I'll pass it over to Patty.
Very good. Thank you. And good morning, everybody. I appreciate everybody joining us on another brisk, cold February day. And I welcome you to my spare bedroom. When I do the blurred background, I feel like my face gets very cartoonish. So I'm just going to keep it like this. In any case, I wanted to say welcome on behalf of Sharon and I. We are the co-chairs of the HR group for the Social Chamber for 2022. And we've been, all of us collectively, there's many here who are part of this, the HR group, have been talking about programming for 2022. And we decided that a very timely and appropriate topic was to discuss tips for hiring and retaining employees in a very difficult market for so many of us. And so we put our thinking caps on, and Lisa Corrigan, who Jill just mentioned, is the owner of South Shore Staffing. And I'd like for Lisa to just, take over the reins, tell us a little bit about South Shore Staffing, the kinds of clients you serve, and then we'll kind of get right into some of the meat of the matter, if you will. So Lisa, how does that sound?
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Corrigan. I recently took over South Shore Staffing as of January 1st, 2021. So we just finished our first year. I acquired the company from Linda McDade. I know she was also on the chamber. Linda took the company over from her brother, Ed, back in 2013 when he passed. So our specialty as far as hiring or staffing, we specialize in administrative support, accounting and finance, and engineering. We are in the process of also bringing on an IT vertical. So soon, hopefully sometime in 2022, we'll start with some IT staffing as well. My background has always been in staffing, mostly sales. I started off as a recruiter, in recruiting, and then moved into sales, management, et cetera, et cetera. I had an opportunity to meet Linda, and we just clicked. She wanted to retire. We started negotiating, and thanks to COVID, it sort of pushed the deal out about 6 months, but everything worked out fine, and we ended up closing on the business December 31st of 2020. So we had our first year, 2021. It was new, never obviously been in ownership, always was an employee of either a smaller, Boston-owned staffing firm, and then I've also worked for some national companies. So this was a dream come true. I came from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad was in business for himself my whole life, and always had the attitude, it's always best to work for yourself and be your own boss. And so I was fortunate to sort of come into this opportunity. Love it. I acquired the staff here at South Shore Staffing, which was great. We've added to the staff, and we will continue to do that. My thought and hope is to just continue to grow the business and stick with the reputation that South Shore Staffing has had for many, many years. I know Ed did a great job. Everybody loved Ed. Linda, the same thing. So, it's my thought to continue with that, and my hope that we will continue to have success as we move forward. With regard to hiring and staffing, the pandemic sort of changed everything for us. We were forced to go home. We were forced to learn how to be successful, how to work from our dining room table or our home office or basement, living room, wherever it might be. Again, technology is a blessing and a curse, but it did allow people to continue to run their businesses from wherever they were. Staffing and hiring these days has become difficult because the candidate pool has shrunk, and we don't know really why. We bang our heads every day. I have meetings after meetings with industry professionals, and we just don't know where the people have gone. And it's just a question every week. I just was in a meeting on Monday, and someone said to me, where did everyone go? What happened to them? And I said, I know it's a strange question. I mean, they didn't just disappear. They're out there. So, we know that people the pandemic made people change their priorities, shift things. Some people maybe can work on one income instead of a dual income family these days, and people are just not working, or they're, doing something completely different than what they did before. The thing about finding people with hiring, I know the struggle is real, and it is for us too, even though this is our business and we do this every day. It's hard to find people. So we know that the best advice I can give anybody, or even myself, friends that are looking to hire people, all of my colleagues out there in the different chambers that we serve, my biggest thought is flexibility is huge these days. It used to be, over the years, time and money would be what would incentivize people. If you went back 5 years, 10 years, and you said, how can I find some good people? I need to grow my team. What can I do? Or I need to incentivize the current team that I have. We need to grow by this. What can I do? Well, time and money were always huge. That's what people looked for. They, if you can fill this job, if we can fill this spot, if we can build this team by 2 more people, I'm going to give you this, monetary incentive, and you can have, a day off next month or something like that. Those things would incentivize people. Those still hold true and are very important. But, now it seems people are really into this work-life balance, and they want the flexibility. And I think by being forced home from the pandemic, it gave people that flexibility, because we were working from home, producing, and no one knew that you were at Susie Q's baseball game. Or, you had to take your mom to a doctor's appointment, something, whatever it might be. So flexibility is huge. So when hiring and retaining people, keep in mind, these key things. Are you flexible to let someone take an afternoon off, or take a 2-hour lunch break so they can take their elderly parent to a doctor's appointment? Are you flexible enough to let, Bob Smith go to his son's high school, baseball game, whatever it might be, having that attitude where you can be more flexible, and people appreciate that. Even the younger folks, the Gen Zers and the millennials and all of the, the younger generations, they want that work-life balance. It's huge. It's, we heard it 10 years ago. And I remember when my kids were little and I was managing, and it was, I worked for a woman-owned company, and surprisingly enough, they didn't have that attitude where you could be, they weren't flexible. And it was strange. Like, how could you be, 4 moms, wives, moms, grandmothers, and not allow your key people, especially, to have some flexibility? My 4-year-old, how many times I listened to her say, Mom, can you put your BlackBerry down? Now I know I'm dating it. I'm going back because no one uses BlackBerries anymore. But those, that was a statement that came out of her mouth. It resonated with me then, and it resonates with me to this day. So flexibility is huge. A work-life balance is huge. If we can offer these things to potential employees and current employees, I think, it is helpful, and definitely will allow you to retain, especially, we all know who our key players are. We know who we want to keep. We know who we want to help us grow our business, stay with us for a long time. We're going to have to start sort of getting creative and figuring out, what is it that you need to, what can I offer you to be successful in your job, to make you want to stay with me or join my company. I think in today's day and age, with regard to searching for candidates, another thing I've tell folks, clients of ours, back in the day when the candidate pool was ginormous, you could pick and choose, and you could be really, you could be picky. Now we have a very small group of people to choose from, and I hate to say, like, lower your standards. I don't want you to lower your standards. I want you to sort of rethink your standards and rethink your needs, and what are the top 5 criteria, well, maybe, reduce that to 3. And if you, for many years, you always wanted someone who had a bachelor's degree, well, maybe the right person with the right work experience, the right attitude, all of that coming together without the bachelor's degree is still going to be a great hire and going to do really well for your team. So, changing things, getting creative, I think is huge. Another thing we're finding, we're suggesting and we're seeing that it's helpful. In 2021, when we came out of the pandemic, we did a lot of direct hire staffing. Companies were, gun shy. They didn't, they wanted to hire someone right from the get-go. They didn't want a temp. Now we're seeing the shift change a little bit, and temp and temp to hire are a good way to add to your team. It allows you to, feel the person out. At the same time, it allows the candidate to do the same thing about your company and seeing if they really want to work there, or it allows you to see, do I really want this person to work for me? Especially where maybe you're reducing the criteria or changing the criteria. When I say, well, I don't need someone with a college degree, try the temp out or the temp to hire situation of the candidate that doesn't have the college degree and doesn't meet all of the, get rid of the old job description and come up with a new job description with changes, with more flexible criteria in it. So you can say, well, let's bring her on, or him. Let's see, he's got 7 out of 10 of the things that we would normally look for, or he even has 6 out of 10. But great attitude, great references, everything else checks off. Just don't be so strict and stringent with the way you would do your hiring before. I find that works. So bringing on someone in a temporary situation, we have a lot of success, even after 2 or 3 weeks or a month. Susie Q is doing awesome. She started as a temp. We weren't even sure if we were going to consider her for direct hire or him, but he's doing awesome. We're going to make an offer. We don't want to lose this candidate. So we're seeing a lot of that now. And it's only been, 6 weeks into the new year, but this is what we're seeing in the trends. So my thought is, and I say this to everybody, flexibility, changing your criteria, thinking outside the box and saying, okay, well, maybe, 10 years experience is too much. Maybe we're going to reduce that, and we'll take someone who, only has 5 years experience and has a go-getter attitude, wants to learn, again, comes with great references, has a good work history. All of those things are important instead of being so strict with checking off every box. So that's, that's kind of where we are, and that's what we think. We're thinking, and I think probably for the next year, maybe even the next 2 years, we're going to see this trend where the candidate pool is not as huge as it used to be, and we're going to have to figure out ways to that are creative when it comes to hiring, attracting, retaining, and time and money are first, but flexibility, all of those things that not just the pandemic, but technology and evolution has allowed us to become successful, to be successful.
Lisa, you just mentioned a couple of things. Sorry to interject here, but
okay.
I've been a manager off and on my whole life, and one of the things that I was always told was that you hire the attitude and you train the skill.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if anybody else ever grew up on that approach, but I still find today that that's true.
I agree.
Because if you've got somebody with a positive attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody has come from past experiences, and everybody brings a little bit of baggage, but if you've got somebody who's got a solid work history, right,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they just need a change, maybe they really did have a horrible boss at their last job. I think if you give them a chance, and maybe the temp to hire is the way to go, because then you really, each of you can feel things out, the employee and the employer. The other thing that you've been mentioning is is the flexibility piece. I know that there's several people here within our forum who work for human service agencies or are in a manufacturing environment. And a lot of them don't necessarily have that kind of flexibility with people working from home because they need to take care of their own clients or whatnot. So I know that Sharon was gracious enough to kind of talk about some of the examples of what her human service agency has done to try to try to help people out a little bit. And so Sharon, if you wouldn't mind just kind of chiming in about the things that you've done to really make people feel good and kind of give them a little bit more, if you based upon the conversation that we had the other day.
Sure. Yes, it's hard because we're open, 24/7, and because we're so short staffed, we have people that are just truly getting burnt out. But when we can, we find that a lot of the applicant pool right now is looking for what Lisa says, like they only want to work 30 hours or 20 hours a week instead of full-time 40 hours. So we found that bringing new people in, we do have to be flexible with our schedules. Like where we would typically hire a full-time person, we may have to hire 2 part-time people instead. We've also had to, like with the burnout, we've been able to make some adjustments financially so that we can pay bonuses or stipends or give incentives like that. What's challenging is we haven't been able to give time off because we're so short-staffed. So trying to overcompensate in regards to financially, where we can't adjust time off. But as we are coming out of the COVID, the most recent uptick in COVID, we are making sure that we get management to cover for employees so that they can take some time off. So really trying to balance the needs of time off and financial incentives for those that are truly working those extra hours. So it's very, very challenging right now, but just trying to make sure people know that they're appreciated, I think is huge too.
I mean, the little things go a long way, and that's just, I think, words of wisdom, and that's how we should be in our daily lives, not just in our work lives, buying lunch, random acts of kindness. I mean, it's just how we should be as humans anyway. And they go far, a lunch here and there, a thoughtful, something, to let people know that they are appreciated. And 99.9% of the time it goes a long way, especially with retaining employees. And I mean, even as far as attracting, I mean, the joke was, oh yeah, I used to say to when I was hiring people, if I could send you to Phoenix for a week of training in the sun, I would, but I can't. And this is how we do things. And, I'm going to do my best. You're going to learn through osmosis, and we're here, and all of these things. And I've said this throughout my entire career, whether I work for a national company or a small little boutique firm like South Shore Staffing. But, the little things go a long way. If it's a lunch, if it's, you have an eye doctor appointment. No, you don't need to give me a slip, and I'm not going to dock you 2 hours. Go to your doctor's appointment and come back. Your mom needs to go to an appointment, make it for the end of the day so you can, work a full day until 4 and then scoot out and go do what you need to do, or things like that. I mean, for the most part, those things go a long way, especially for smaller, companies, the mom and pops, the South Shore Staffings of the world, are we a big national firm that's going to offer different things? That's at such a different level. So when you're attracting new employees, I'm transparent. We are a small mom and pop. We work every day in the office. This is what we do. This is, how we do things. For some people, that's going to be what they're looking for. For others, no, they're going to want that national appeal, that big corporate environment. And then, right from the get-go that, this isn't going to be a good fit. But to retain people, a little goes a long way, I think. And I know we're struggling with, like in the human services world, you don't have the staff, you don't, they're overworked because you're short staffed. You mentioned, giving them a little bit more in the hourly rate to get them, to show them that they're appreciated. And we are working on trying to find people. We're still trying to figure out, where did these people go? We need them to come back. Another thing that I mentioned, and it's actually, we're in the process of getting our newest blog out, and it's about hiring older workers. I think it's, I think there's so much to be said for an older worker who might be, semi-retired or wants to come out of retirement because they worked for many, many years, and then they, retired and took a break, but now, their mind is still sharp and they're physically able to get to work, 20 or 30 hours a week, and they have so much to offer and contribute. They may not be tech savvy like you or I, or not like me, but like the younger generations, but they have a lot to offer. And I think utilizing them, to help your business grow, or, sustain your business. I think that's another option. And I refer to the movie, The Intern, and I don't know if everyone has seen it, but it's an awesome movie. If anyone hasn't watched it, it's a Saturday afternoon. It's just a feel-good movie. And Robert De Niro is retired, and he goes into work for this, young Spitfire, entrepreneur, and he offers one thing and she offers another thing, and they just, they're a great mix. And to me, it's a great thing. So it's, the younger people want certain things. The older person has a lot of knowledge, experience, wisdom, isn't going to be looking for growth, isn't going to want to break the glass ceiling, but can really offer you something, to help your business. We had, just to give you an example, we have a semi-retired employee that works for South Shore Staffing, and he worked for the company before I took over, but I knew his name from the get-go, because he's awesome. He's an accountant by trade, has a ton of experience in the accounting world, and he's done a bunch of different assignments for us on the temporary, on a temporary basis. Everywhere he goes, they love him. We had a company looking for attempt to hire, and at first they kind of ruled him out because of his semi-retired status. And I think, as much as we don't like to say this, even though it is the reality of the world, it does happen, his age, things like that, she ruled him out. Well, after a few days, and after my, one of my employees kind of explained, like, this is what you're getting, this is what you will get, she reconsidered. And he actually, he's interviewing today, and hopefully, I don't know, the odds are he probably will get an offer, because he's such a great candidate. He has a lot to bring to the table. And, she had the attitude, this is again where you kind of need to sort of change your scope. She had the attitude, they wanted to hire someone and they want someone to be there. Well, the odds are today, even with a younger hire, that person's not, they don't know, people don't really stay in jobs more than 2 to 3 years anymore. It's just the way of the world. Especially a younger person is going to want to grow, change, who knows, maybe gets married and moves to Hawaii. You just never know. Here you have the older worker that is a little bit more stable. They're staying here. They're going to give you 2 good solid years, or 3 years or 5 years, who knows? So sort of, get rid of that tunnel vision with what you thought you wanted, and be a little bit more flexible and think, yeah, you know what? He can do this, 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 and this. And I'm going to reconsider that. So
Lisa, I'll just chime in here. We have a handful of employees that are in their late 70s, early 80s,
Mhm.
that are absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are some homes that we don't know how we would do it without them. So I totally agree. It's almost like a second career for
Yeah.
some of these individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, the human services person in me. My degree is in social work. So, you knew back then, and, when I was in college, I wanted to help people, and I still help people every day with finding jobs. You're helping them too. Not only is this person helping you grow your business, sustain your business, whatever it is, you're helping them in a way too. You're getting them out there. They're using their mind, their skills, they're using their experience. You're giving them a purpose. So it's twofold, I think. So it's definitely something to consider as far as hiring again, hiring someone. Doesn't have to be that Spitfire recent college grad right out of Dartmouth, because the odds are that recent college grad right out of Dartmouth in 3 years isn't going to be working for you. The odds are. But, the semi-retired Mr. Smith who can work 25 or 30 hours will probably be there in 3 years.
Thank you, Lisa, and Sharon, for sharing those couple of things. We had a couple of questions come in through the queue, and one of them was, you mentioned about flexibility, and I think we all agree that that's key. Do you have any examples that you can share about how to potentially write that job description that would show off the flexibility, if you will?
I would definitely use the word itself. You can use things like, college degree preferred, but not necessary, different words like that. In the interview process and the screening process, ideally we're looking for someone full-time, but maybe would consider someone mother's hours, or maybe would consider someone 30 hours a week. And then when you really think about it, as we hire people as management, we go over what are the needs. Well, yeah, ideally we want someone full-time, 40 hours, but if Susie Q can only work 30 hours because she's got kids, or she has an elderly parent, or whatever the case may be, she has a second job. Think about it, can this scope of work be done in 30 hours? Can it really be done? Think about how much time is wasted at the water cooler or on the lunch break or whatever, can this job really be done in 30 hours to allow for that flexibility? And another thing that I think is hugely important, and technology again has allowed us to do this, and it happens here with my staff. I pay part of their cell phone, and I know that when 5 o'clock comes on a Wednesday afternoon, if Sherry calls me from Electro Switch and needs someone the next day, or needs someone, I know that I can reach out to Steve or Carolyn or Nicole or Linda and say, Sherry really needs someone tomorrow morning. Who do we have? I know that my staff is going to do that. So that's just, again, technology has allowed us. So that 40-hour-a-week job that you thought you needed maybe goes to 30 or 32 to allow for that flexibility for whatever the person needs. And then okay, well, once she puts the kids to bed, or once she makes dinner, or once she finishes up at the ball game, I know he or she is going to do this, especially if I ask, or if it's required, or they know they have to do it. It's just how it is.
I once had a friend whose parents were selling their house in Hanover. This was probably 15 or 20 years ago. And they decided to list it on their own. And rather than have a realtor, get involved, her daughter wrote the listing for the home. And it said, do you like great old homes with big, wide pine floors that have holes in them and have splashes of fruit punch, scattered throughout the walls, and she wrote this very compelling ad for the home that really created memories for this family. And what she was trying to impart was, this house is filled with memories of our family. Let it be memories of your family coming in. And they sold that home in like 24 hours. And this was really before, I think, folks really sold their homes on their own. So, and she didn't even have a writing background. She just kind of came up with it on her own. And I think back to that often. And so if there's a way you can rewrite the job description even just to get the attention
Mhm.
of somebody
Mhm.
would
Yeah,
be a
keywords,
good
like,
thing.
you know, even if it's a funny thing, like, something just catchy. It doesn't even have to apply to the job, just to get someone to look at it and then read through what it is you're looking for. I think, and I think phone interviews and a phone screen is huge right from the get-go. I think you can, I know you can learn a lot, obviously face to face, but you can completely screen in or out that person just from a phone conversation. Enough to say, okay, well, I'm going to spend the time now to actually bring this person in. And then, of course, we have the whole social media thing now that allows us to advertise, get out there, use your social network. Referrals were always the best to hire in my career. And I'm sure it goes back many, many years, even before that. Referrals are huge, My mom always said, birds of a feather flock together, or you show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So if you like me, the odds are you're going to like my friends. We're similar attitude, dependency, all of those things. So training, like you said, it's about character, and the person means a lot. I could show you the software that you need to learn. I could show you how to make that recruiting phone call, but the person who you are, like, again, I say this to my kids, it's about character. The whole thing these days, it's not, it's not color, it's character, it's things like that. It's, who you are as a person. Doesn't matter all the other things. I can show you how to make for the most part, how to make a recruiting call. Yes, are there certain people that can't do sales? Sure. Those people wouldn't apply here at my office, but would be great somewhere else. But it's really about the person and who they are. And that you can identify typically on a phone call, in a quick Zoom interview now, because we have the capabilities. But it's how you're going, attracting that person. And, I say referrals are huge anyway. They're always big for me. So reach out to your network. Who do you know? Who do your kids know? Who do your cousins know? Who do your friends know? Things like that.
And Lisa, are you still seeing that sign-on bonuses are still a very big trend?
Mhm.
Are you seeing them kind of continue to increase? I know that initially it was, $500, and companies are, saying we'll give you $1,500 now, or are you still seeing that as a big
I
trend?
haven't seen them increase. They're still there, and they did increase, at the beginning they were 500, and then they went up because people were desperate. They've pretty much plateaued. Sign-on bonuses, referral bonuses, huge. And sometimes, when you think about it, I haven't had to give any sign-on bonuses personally. I know companies do. Referral bonuses we offer even to our temps here. If we have a great temp who's working for us, like I said, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Well, if Susie Q has done a great job at Electro Switch, and she has a friend or her college roommate or her best friend from first grade, referrals are great, and we offer referral bonuses. And I think
Sure.
everyone, it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just, it's a gesture. Thank you for referring this person. Thank you for thinking of me. And, this is what I can do for you.
Sure. We had another question in the queue as well. It was, how have you seen companies marry the Department of Labor regulations with hourly staff and flexibility?
So that's a little, that's kind of hard for me to answer, because we pay our temps an hourly rate. We pay way more than minimum wage, even though minimum wage has increased these days. So as far as, I can't really speak to that, honestly, from a personal perspective. It doesn't really apply to us. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Sharon, if you could answer that a little bit better. I don't know.
We kind of do the same thing. We pay way above minimum wage only because we had to increase. So it's really not an issue with us. Most of our employees are hourly. We do find that because of that, like our flexibility, we're like our admin staff that work in a different location, we have the ability, a lot of them are exempt, and we have the ability to be more flexible. Like if you need to leave early, go ahead, and you can make up the time. But hourly, we're pretty strict with you get paid for the hours you work. So I don't know if that helps.
It was my question. So let me just clarify, because we have billing staff, for example, who are hourly. And during the pandemic, we were able to allow them to work from home. They did have to come in a couple of days, and we allowed late afternoon into early evening, just so that there were because it's a large group of people, fewer people in one congested, small, cubicle area to be on site at any given time. But my concern is tracking their time so that if they work from 8 to 4, that's great, and it's a solid 8 to 4 shift. But what if we talk about flexibility, they work 8 to 12, and then they log off, and then they want to come back on and finish the rest of their day. So as far as DOL is concerned, they're going to look at what is that person's regular schedule. Now, if they were going to make that their regular schedule, a split schedule, that's fine. But if their regular schedule is 8 to 4, and then we have these breaks, if follow me, the breaks, that's not their regular schedule. So what could happen is they would look at that as that was a way potentially for the employer to get around paying overtime because their regular schedule is 8 to 4. And now you've allowed them to work, 8 to 12, and then they log back in for the remainder of their shift. I love the idea of flexibility, and it's working with me and our directors and saying, look, if you want to give your staff to take care of their kids in the afternoon, then we have to look at creating those schedules and putting them in the system as such. So what they work aligns with what's in the system for a schedule. To your point, Sharon, you have to be very strict,
Right.
because it will come back to burn you.
So in that
Nice and
scenario,
flexible.
in that scenario, they're still only working 8 hours. They're working 8 to noon and then logging off and then coming back, say 4 to 8, correct?
They're not necessarily logging off. What I'm saying is I want to make that so that it is a schedule that shows they log off, they log back in. We have
Right.
staff that will step away and then come back, and then they're working to a later hour. So for the manager may know it's truly only 8 hours collectively, right? 40 hours collectively for the week. But if I were to look at that day, I don't see them sign off and sign back in. That's a DOL problem. So it's educating managers on flexibility and tracking time. You can be flexible, but you have to formally track the time. So Lisa, they come in at 8, they work till 7, but they're taking a break during the day, but they're not time stamping out and back in.
So is there a way that you can say to them, they need to stamp out, they need to log out, or
Yes.
is there?
Yes.
And I mean, I know a lot of companies, like even for us with temps, so we obviously have to pay overtime for anything over 40 hours,
Right.
like everybody does.
Right.
I mean, is there a way that you can say to these people, you cannot work more than 40 hours?
You can, but again, Department of Labor, as Sharon said, they will come in and look and see what is Patty's schedule for the week. What's her schedule for the week? And they'll look at the hours and sort of line the hours up with what they've worked. It can get a little messy. It's educating managers. That's my point. Not so much the employees. It's educating managers that you can still have flexibility with your hourly staff. You just have to set it. You have to set the schedule up to allow
Right.
that person to step away during that period of time, and they have to monitor it. And this is a whole different mindset for management and across the board, I'm sure, in many organizations, when dealing with hourly staff, is really watching and monitoring, educating, ensuring that their staff are time stamping out, stamping back in.
Right.
So it's, so that's why I asked if you had seen any of that going on within the industry, you know, having, working with different organizations and employing hourly staff.
So we haven't, knock on wood, thankfully, because I know that like just has opened, I'm sure has opened up a huge can of worms for you and made, I mean, you talk about now your managers have to do another job by
Yes.
watching and managing this. So we haven't seen it. You know, another thing, I don't have any, in the whole first year of my ownership, have not seen one remote job come through come on my desk. Every temp job, every direct hire job that we've placed in 2021 has all been in office.
Wow.
We may have one or two situations that are hybrid,
Mhm.
that, you know, they work, we knew going into it, it was hybrid, the candidate knew going into it, it was hybrid, and that's fine. But honest, we have no one working remotely.
So
That's
why do you
really-
think that is?
I think, well, so I think the companies that we service, a lot of them are smaller to mid-size here, you know, local. A lot of them are mom and pops, and they really need hands-on people in order to survive, in order to, you know,
Mhm.
to run. They need their people in there, just like my staff. The whole entire 2021, I took over January 1st. I think my first day in the office might have been January 4th. Everybody has worked 5 days a week in this office.
Do you think that those that can offer work from home may not be struggling as much to fill their jobs? Because I know we're struggling a lot to fill our jobs, but we don't have
Mhm.
the option to work from home.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if those people, those organizations that can, like if anybody on this group has any feedback on this, if you allow people to work from home, are you struggling to fill those jobs, or are those easier to fill? Just curious.
Well, I'm in the same line of business as you, Sharon, though we offer outpatient clinics. So our clinicians can provide services through telehealth. We do ask that they come in once or twice a month, especially because they may have some high risk clients that they should physically see at least 1 or 2 times a month, but they can work remotely. But in our residential program, those individuals cannot work remotely. And if you get too creative with the schedules, as you know, then you're left with a 2-hour gap at the beginning of a shift. And how do you fill that? Or you could end up with a 4-hour gap at the end of a shift, or so that gets a little complicated, though we do try to be a little flexible on that to some degree, but we wouldn't go full flexibility just because you can't hire somebody for 2 hours. So you can't, but we find we can hire people because of the hybrid, that flexibility. But in residential, that doesn't work, to your point. And a lot of those people in those programs are working at your organization and mine. So they have to have set schedules in order to do 2 jobs.
Right. I will
Yeah.
share with you, Eastern Bank has the bank and the insurance arm, and regardless, we are still struggling to hire people, even if it is either a hybrid or a fully remote.
Yeah.
We're not immune to that whole issue either. Of course, the bank folks have a little bit more rigidity around it because they're client facing. But it's the same in the insurance. We have full flexibility to be remote, and it's still difficult to find folks as well. So we're feeling it, even though we are offering a full flexible schedule to be at home. And it's interesting because you would think that all things would be equal in Eastern, and in the interest of just transparency here, we just had Bob Rivers, our chairman, does a town hall once a month, and he was just talking about how jeans can be worn for anybody in the bank, and that once a week they provide lunch. And all of us, most of us on the insurance side are all remote, except for the folks who really need to be there, for people who need registry services for their car and some other kind of things like that. And somebody from the insurance side, well, we've been working all throughout the pandemic and we can't wear jeans and nobody's giving us lunch once a week. So it was like, oh, wait a second. Insurance folks aren't even, so it goes a long way just to say you can wear jeans and yes, we're going to feed you once a week. So we're even finding the same thing, within our own organization. It's difficult and people are very burnt out.
Mm.
So
I think like with the Great Resignation, which is all we hear about right now, I really think, you have these folks that worked hard for 20 or 30 years and then just said, you know what, I'm gonna grow flowers and sell them, or I'm gonna have a vegetable garden and sell my vegetables in front of my house, or, just completely changed gears, like shifted, a lot of things shifted for everybody. And they're not, what at one time was, yeah, I want to work 40 or 50 hours a week, making $100,000 a year. Well, now, you know what, now we redid our budget and, we can afford for me to work 3 days a week and make $50,000 a year, or we can afford for me to really do something that I'm passionate about, not something that I really, am forced to do. So there's just been this huge shift. That's part of the reason why I think we can't find it. Why people have disappeared. I mean, they didn't disappear, they're still exist. They exist somewhere. We just don't know where they are.
Sure.
They're
We
planting.
had another question come in about any insights on what small to medium-sized employers are doing as far as employee offerings, like their benefits, their 401k, to kind of differentiate themselves from competitors in this space. I'll share with you as a benefits broker, the one thing that has been a huge thing in the last 2 years is offering pet insurance to your employees. Everybody has adopted a pet, and if it's a puppy or a kitten, it's a really good idea to get it because it's very difficult to to get the insurance when they're older. So I can just say to you that that's a huge thing. But there's a bunch of other things as well. Lisa, do you have any insight on that?
Okay, so I'm a small business that doesn't offer insurance. We have a few benefits that we offer, a simple IRA, things like that, but we can't afford to do that. We're so small. And we service a lot of small to mid-sized businesses, and it's difficult for folks like us to offer benefits like that. I know they're important, and for some people, they need them. And those are the people that would look to the more corporate company. I'm fully transparent when I interview folks and I want to hire for my staff. I can't do it. If I could, again, it's like sending you to training in Phoenix. If I could, I would. Maybe someday we'll get there. We refer people to the connector. And fortunately for me, it's been okay. And I have a great staff that, doesn't need the benefits. As far as other companies, I don't know. I know a lot of smaller to mid-sized companies here in Massachusetts don't offer benefits. If you have under a certain amount of employees, you don't have to offer them. So the other things maybe make up for it.
Lisa, but the one thing that you said, you pay for their cell phone. I think that's a huge benefit. I know a lot of our employees would love not to have that expense. So I think that's a wonderful extra benefit.
Yeah, things like that. I try to do as much as I can. Even like I said, again, back to the time and money, when little things, it's the little things that count, when my 20-something out there has a first date. And again, it's kind of silly, but it's important. And Caroline, go home at 4, go get yourself ready. Things like that. Or, you're leaving for vacation and you need some extra time. Things, the little things. We can, as a small business, offer the little things. And again, when I talk to people, and a lot of times it's more younger folks, and I think it's just probably the the idea that they have in their head that they need to work for a big, huge corporation that offers these things, a lot of times they do. And then they find out, well, that's really, after they do it, it's not really my thing, or maybe I'm a better fit in a small company. If you need those things, that's where you're going to have to go. And I'm transparent up front. Like we don't offer. So if it's a deal breaker, I can help you find something like that, but I can't offer it.
I'm just
a little
curious,
thing.
because we're kind of, thank you, Lisa. We're running a little bit short on time here, but does anybody have in their organization the ability for one employee to send to another employee kind of like a good job award where, you do a, 2 or 3 sentence little write-up and it gets sent to them, and maybe it comes along with a $25 gift certificate, and it's, kind of taxable income to the employee, anything like that? Anybody have any incentives like that where, or even just a simple thank you note, thank you for helping me with XYZ? Anybody do anything like that with employees or have a platform like that?
We started, Pat, and then COVID hit and it fizzled. It just fizzled because people really weren't seeing each other. We lost a lot of our staff over the last 2 years, and we've replaced with new staff. I wouldn't say we've replaced everyone that we've lost, because I can say, we were 700 plus employees and we're down to 600 plus employees over the last 2 years. So right now it's something that we really want to do. Managers have brought it up, but I haven't even seen our directors in a directors meeting in person in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's all been virtual.
Yep.
So it's something that I think the organization's hungry for. It's just rolling it out and really getting that kind of buy-in. So it's been really interesting. I didn't think it would fizzle out, but it did fizzle out.
Sure.
We lost
It's
a lot of our managers too.
Yep.
We've replaced a number of them most recently, but so it's a whole revamp of this particular program with all our new people.
Yeah. So you're just doing
the same
baseline.
at Bridgewater. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Sean,
I was
please.
saying we had the same at Bridgewater, that you could, kind of like almost just writing thank you notes to individual employees in like a recognition program, but it
Right.
fizzled through COVID. We're trying to, have conversations about together again, and what does that mean? And like, what's that going
Right.
to look like? And then we used to have like yearly awards that were almost employee to employee write-in type of awards.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing, all that kind of went away. So that's part of the together again is, what are we going to revamp, or what type of awards, and now starting to think about, presence even through our, media platforms, and what does that mean, and what type of awards does that bring into play? So, those are similar conversations that we're having, that were things that we were trying to do for engagement that fizzled. So.
Yeah, all of those types of engagement I think are huge, and I know we're short for time, but the little things, I think, and I said this earlier, and it's just how I live my life, a little goes a long way.
Yep.
And, I say to my kids, kindness is everything. And, it takes less to be kind than it does to be mean or hurtful or all of those things. So a little goes a long way. If it's a simple recognition, a letter, a handwritten note, versus even an email, a handwritten note, lunch, summer Fridays, all of these little things. You talk about the big companies that offer benefits and all of this stuff, which is fantastic. But for the smaller companies like Social Staffing, like a lot of the folks on the in this group, we can't do that. But these are the little things that I can do. The summer Friday, because at 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon between Memorial Day and Labor Day, if I need you, you're going to answer your phone because I am paying your cell phone. And you want the deal to happen. You don't want the deal to fizzle. You don't want the temp to not show up, or the person, whatever it might be. A little goes a long way, and we have to, the way I look at it is also getting back to the basics and grassroots. For the last 50 years, we may not have been there, but think of what people did, 75 years ago, without technology, without cell phones, without computers, they still ran businesses that were hugely successful. And it was on the handshake, and it was on your word, and it was on your relationship, and the person who you were or are. So, I mean, I'm a firm believer in a little goes a long way, and, get back to the basics.
Thank you,
Coming-
Lisa. I'm happy to have the dialogue continue. I actually have to part because I have a 10 o'clock Zoom with a client, but this has been super informative. Just for everybody on the call, we do have an employment law update coming in April, and some other programming ideas that we're thinking about. If you do have some ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to email me or Jill at the chamber, anybody at the chamber, or Sharon. And just grateful that you all have participated this morning and hopefully got a couple of good tidbits out of this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you,
Thank-
everyone. Have a great day. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.